5% of all of our sales goes back to nonprofit. Last year and this year's for Child Safe, which is a local nonprofit that supports kids. And so that's just built into my business plan and my mission that every year 5% off the top at least will go to a nonprofit. And so it's that nice collab. So as I'm more successful, I can give back more to my community and vice versa.
Hey, this is Nick Armstrong, and you are tuned into the Founded in FoCo podcast. Every episode, we get a chance to talk to an innovative mover and shaker in our community. And today, we get to talk to an innovative mover and shaker in the world of coffee here in FoCo. Adam, welcome to the show, and tell us what you do.
Thanks so much, Nick. I am the owner of Oak Coffee Co. Or Oak Coffee Company. We're a local coffee roaster here in Fort Collins, about 2 years in. We specialize in aging coffee with different spirits, such as whiskey, bourbon, and rum. It gives a different type of unique flavor palette and kind of brings the everyday cup of coffee up a little bit.
Now, as a connoisseur of coffee, and I have some in my cup here, I really enjoy it. What gave you the idea to get started in the coffee business, and what was the origins of you diving into that industry?
I've always been, I like to call myself a coffee aficionado, but really it's more of an addiction. And a lot of my friends and peers were in the brewery business and distilling business. So really the idea came about of, hey, can you age coffee? And so started playing around, experimenting with it. By happenstance, it was the same time I was completing my master's through Colorado State University and in business administration. So I used my coursework to build the business model as at the same time I was experimenting with the different coffee variations and aging and how to do it and barrel aging. And really after a few months, I realized that, hey, this is a really awesome business model and it's delicious. And so it kind of started as a conversation over beers, some friends, and fast forward 2 years, we're a quickly growing business.
How did you it's product-based businesses are really difficult and tricky to get nailed down in terms of all the logistics, the overhead. What did you focus on at the onset? What did you start with in terms of where to prioritize your time and attention and also your funds?
So, my funds were pretty limited, but fortunately, Fort Collins is amazing for collaboration and sphere. So I leaned heavily on friends that were also in similar businesses and business adjacent. And I also realized pretty quickly that the coffee roasting business in Fort Collins is very similar to the brewery and distilling businesses, where it's very collaborative and communicative. And so I was able to lean on, for at least knowledge, a lot of peers and a lot of other established roasters. And then I was able to also facilitate getting like barrels from a local distillery for next to nothing. I was able to kind of pick up a lot of the things I needed to start the business fairly reasonably inexpensively, the low cost of entry. And then I prioritized on just getting beans and the equipment and figuring out the process. That was really where I spent the majority of my time starting. When I first started, I did have actual barrels, and that worked out well when I was aging 5 and 10 pounds at a time. But as I got up to aging 100 pounds and more, trying to move around a 100-pound barrel with 100 pounds of beans became quickly backbreaking. So figuring out different processes and using my connections with the brewery business to figure out how they age their beers. And now I do the very similar thing with my coffee. So when I first started, I prioritized on process and getting the flavor down. And then also figuring out ways to offer the product, the coffee, at a reasonable price. A lot of the competitors within the spirit age or barrel age coffee sector charges a very high premium, and I wanted to offer coffee that was more attainable for just the average person. So that's kind of where I focus all my energy up front.
Yeah, when you had first started, I think I went to a Starbucks, one of their experimental roasteries, and I shared a picture of you of a sign that had like barrel aged coffee. It was nowhere near the level of quality that you have, but their pricing was very primo. And as you said, that is not an affordable bag of coffee, right? Something that you kind of splurge on. It's something that you can't really enjoy without feeling guilty about it every time you crack open the bag. So tell me about what is the process for aging coffee? What does it look like for you to, go from beans to cup?
So I have worked for the last 2 years of sourcing beans from around the world. And my goal for that was to get beans that are lower in acidity, lower in pH. So because I drink so much coffee, I needed it to not be a gut bomb essentially. And the process I've learned and kind of worked down is I infuse oak spirals or aging oak used for wine and beer and distilling. And I infuse those pieces of oak with the different spirits, with either whiskey, rum, bourbon, and now rum or wine. And I pick different char levels and different thickness and smoke levels of the different wood. And then I take those uh, oak spirals and put them in with the green coffee beans. Green coffee beans are actually more porous than roasted coffee beans. And so it absorbs and infuses the beans with the flavoring. And so as the I age it for about 2 weeks, and as the liquid evaporates, it actually ends up infusing the beans. So after you roast, you get the full flavor profile throughout the beans, and it's not that over the top or artificial flavor, and it's more natural and embedded. So after aging it for 2 weeks, the oak spirals, then I roast to a between a medium and a dark roast based on the different roast, and that's how it really is a fairly simple process of aging the oak, and also find the right spirits. Different spirits have different flavor profiles that can infuse and embed and work with the coffee beans or work against it. So
Do you do your own distribution, and how does that logistics supply chain work for you?
so yeah, I do my own distribution. I use Shopify as my online provider, and then essentially when I get orders in, and I use Flare and a couple other ones, and so when I get an order in, I typically can have a turnaround within a day, and then it's just filling whatever amount of orders I get in, and then running them down to FedEx or UPS or Postal Service based on where it's going. And then locally, I do self delivery too. Fortunately, over the last 2 years, I had flexibility in scheduling. So if I get an order in, I can typically fill it within a day. Uh, I've been getting some bigger, larger orders, and so I just build in about a 2 day window, 3 day window to get them shipped out.
Very cool. What is the behind the scenes? I know that there were some logistics about selling on Amazon and other places like that. Can you talk to me about what that process looked like for you as well?
So when I first started, I was really gun ho getting my products on Amazon because I thought that was the cool thing to do. But after trying to figure out and navigate that, and really, it was a really good lesson. So my original company name was Barrel Age Coffee Company, and trying to sell on Amazon and online, I kept getting flagged for alcohol, and so that really hurt the overall sales of it because I kept having to fight that. After about 6 months of finding Amazon and not having any success, I always joke that I was the first casualty of Skynet AI, where the AI flash kept flagging me for alcohol. So I switched to Oak Coffee Co. And then I also realized that Amazon wasn't the best avenue. So what I've taken is growing it more organically locally, and through the farmers markets and through partnerships through local businesses and Visit Fort Collins and Old Town Spice Shop and several others. I was able to get my product in front of a lot of people, and then through that I was able to build up clientele outside the city. So I now distribute down to Colorado Springs and Greeley and Philadelphia and the East Coast up and down. So really it's been very organic. I've spent very little on paid advertising. It's been, fortunately, I've had a really good product, which has helped. And then just working on getting all the distribution arms and channels and trying to find, and one of my buddies has told me, he's like, find the small wins. Like if you can advertise something or put your product somewhere and it costs you a couple bucks or, $20, do that, where you can sell one bag of coffee, two bags of coffee, and recoup that whole cost. If you have to sell 100 bags to recoup the cost, it may not be the best cost effective. So finding small wins and also partnering with like the chamber and different local businesses and kind of doing that. I'm not getting, the 1,000 bag orders, but I'm getting, 10 pounds and 5 pounds at different offices. And that little organicness has allowed me to grow pretty quickly.
Yeah. Overnight success only takes about 2 to 3 years. That's
Oh, yeah.
really a lesson. Tell me about what is the overhead for a coffee brewing business? And do you have your own equipment for roasting? Do you have your barrels? Like you said, you kind of transitioned, and I'm assuming some like hoists and other things like that. What does the overhead and equipment cost look like for you?
So overall, the most expensive equipment cost was my roaster. I got a fluid bed roaster. I kind of have this where I want to try to go all electric if I can eventually. In my small scale, I can do that. But my roaster, that was, only about 5 grand, which is a lot, but entry level cost is actually not too bad. And a lot of my overhead right now, the roaster I have uses very little electricity, so I'm not seeing a big bump in my utility costs, thankfully. But overhead is not too bad. It's the beans and space to store it. Fortunately, we live in an area where green beans, with the right storage environment, are good for a while. So I don't have to worry about, product loss or a spoilage. And then it's the packaging and the labeling that goes into most. So the function cost has stayed about the same. The things that I keep investing money into are, I keep getting bigger and bigger grinders, which they go from being really inexpensive at $50 to really expensive at a couple $1,000. And so that's really where that price dynamic coming from. And really my production space is broken up into where I roast and then where I store and prep. And where I store and prep is, their traditional grates and shelving for all the boxes and packaging and beans. And then I keep all my beans either in the bags they come in, or as I start blending, I keep them in 55-gallon bins that allows me to transfer and move and kind of do stuff of that nature. So overall overhead, I'm probably, whole cost of entry is probably just shy of about 12,000. Also, fortunately for me, I'm really familiar with the city code. So we took one of the sheds I had in my backyard, converted into commercial production space, has a license, insured, inspected, all that fun stuff. And because I already had the structure, I'm not having to lease the structure. That's saving me a significant amount of overhead.
Yeah, fascinating. There's so much that goes into a food-based or a production product-based business that you have to account for. And the entry-level price of $12K is just unheard of. So you found some really cool economies of scale there. Tell me about the idea of you were well based in the community already, and through your other work, that your community advocacy. I have a hard time going to a nonprofit board meeting or a gala or something like that without bumping into you. So tell me about how did that translate into the coffee business, or vice versa? Like, how does that help you spread the word about what your causes are?
Before I got into coffee, I spent a decade as a realtor and a decade before that in car sales. But I've served on board of directors. I serve on a board director for a nonprofit here locally. I've had nonprofits like you. I ran for city council way back when. And so having that community engagement really gave me the connections to do this. I've always wanted to be in the entrepreneurial space, and especially coffee. I've looked at buying coffee shops over the years. and just never were able to make it work financially. So this was a good opportunity to be in the coffee industry, to be an entrepreneur. And really the way it was able to be facilitated is through my connections, through my nonprofit engagement, through my community engagement. Because whenever I go to make phone calls or like reach out to a friend, I was like, hey, I have this idea. What is your thoughts? They don't hesitate to help me. And I would do the same thing for them in many different ways. And so really my community engagement helped me make Oak successful. And now my community engagement is still helping Oak be successful. I have a mission. Oak's mission is every year, 5% of all of our sales goes back to nonprofit. Last year and this year is for Child Safe, which is a local nonprofit that supports kids. And so that's just built into my business plan and my mission, that every year 5% off the top at least will go to a nonprofit. And so it's that nice collab. So as I'm more successful, I can give back more to my community and vice versa.
Incredible. What do you see as the future of Oaked, and where do you see it going?
I see it go in a couple of ways. I plan on expanding to various lines. I have 3 main staples with a wine option, a seasonal, and doing others. But one thing I do want to, and I'm starting to experiment on, is offering a coffee soda product, using all natural ingredients and using the cherry from the coffee cherry, because coffee is the seed of a cherry, and using that as a natural sweetener to change the flavor dynamics for coffee sodas, more of that Italian flair. And then eventuality, hopefully get a large enough production so I can get into local coffee shops and restaurants, and I'm also going the retail side. So I'm working on getting into locations like Lucky's and the Cupboard and eventuality Sprouts and those national chains. So kind of have it go both retail, but then also the coffee shop. And then I'm hoping to be able to experiment and be overly caffeinated over the next year on coffee sodas and natural sweeteners and no artificial preservatives, and be kind of just more good for everyone.
Is there any other words of advice or wisdom that you have for a product-based business, food-based business, as they're getting maybe started in this process or looking for efficiencies as you've done? And what would you share with them?
I would say lean on any of your partners and your friendships. If you are, if you've been in an area for a while, use everyone you know to help build your business. Even if it's you go to a local restaurant where the management, the owner, just talk to them. A lot of people are happy to tell you their successes and tell you where they could have improved. And so, I think that communication and that networking and that collaboration build is probably what I find the cheapest and your best bang for your buck. You're going to spend less money, maybe a little bit more time, but less money building your brand and your products and getting all the efficiencies down. And if it's Fort Collins or anywhere throughout the nation, they have different rules and programs and assistance, and having that connections and collaboration will help you grow that. Farmers markets are great if you can do them. So whatever you can do to really stay local at first. When I first started, I was like, oh, I'll be in King Supers nationwide in a year, and realizing that, no, I needed to focus more local and then grow it saves me a whole lot of time, money, headache, and really able to enjoy growing the brand and not just, always be in that stress point of I'm not big enough. Now it's like, okay, we're growing faster than we really can, and which is great. It's a good problem, growing faster than anticipated.
Tell us about your session at Founded in FoCo.
So Founded in FoCo, I am focusing on the benefits of community engagement, and it go back to the coffee business, really on how I've been able to achieve a work-life balance. And for me, I'm kind of a workaholic. So giving back to the community and community engagement allows me to still be active and working, so to speak, but also have that passion and the influence and the ability to give back And I find as much as I give back to the community, I get back. So the benefits of community engagement is huge on professional, personal, and relationship life, and working that into a healthy work-life balance, which can be a myth, but I think it's actually, I think it's a possible to achieve a work-life balance. So that's what the session at FoCo, Found in FoCo, will be.
Yeah. So it's like a unicorn, right? That's the goal.
Yeah.
Is to find
Yeah.
the unicorn.
Find the unicorn and catch it and ride it.
Excellent. And all of the amazing rainbow and glitter and sparkles that come with the unicorn. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
A man after my own heart. I enjoy also donating and giving back and curating time to nonprofits in that same way. For folks who actually, have maybe found that niche or maybe not in what they wanted to donate their time to or dedicate some extra, efforts towards, what advice would you have for them, the folks that are looking to engage with nonprofits?
There's a lot of them out there, and it can be almost overwhelming. Building the presentation for Founded FoCo, like I didn't realize, I knew there's a lot of boards and commissions and nonprofits, but until building it and putting it all on paper, I was like, oh, that's a lot. So there's something for everyone. So, I would always say kind of figure out what type of time balance you would like to dedicate, if it's an hour a week or 2 hours a week or 3 hours a month or whatever it may be, and then start narrowing down what you're passionate about. And there's going to be a nonprofit that you're passionate about. And then if you find something that you want to maybe get involved with, go to an event they have, or reach out to the executive director, or just take someone out to coffee. And you'll find that there's different levels of engagement that's comfortable for you. So there's something for everyone. You can be on nonprofits for kids, for pets and animals, open space and land, water, kind of across the board. And I think there's, between Lamar County and the city of Fort Collins, there's 50 plus boards and commissions, from everything from, I served on the parking advisory board for 6 years. So there's literally something for everyone. And so, yeah, it's just kind of finding your passion about, kind of figure out how much time you want to dedicate to it, and then trying to narrow down from I think there's 400 nonprofits in Lamar County, narrow down to, the 3 to 4 that you may be interested in, and see if their values and your expectations align, and then jump in.
And just like any organization, the leadership can change the dynamic, the volunteers that you're working besides, the structures, the systems and operating procedures that they have in place can radically change how your interaction with them goes. So I would say go in with an open mind, because you're going to find people that's even within the same mission structure and mission goals may have different parameters and different mindsets, and they come from different positions in life. And so that's one of the benefits, is it actually increases your overall sphere and increases your world awareness, and allows you to become more adaptable and learn to see how things change and ebb and flows. And I find that that's really been beneficial. 100%. Adam, where can we find out more about Oaked? Where can we find out more about you and all the causes that you support?
So right now, I'm in my website is oaked, OAKED coffee.com. And so I'm there. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Adam Eggleston. And then I will have a landing place website, which will be adameggleston.com, up and running here in the next couple of weeks. That will direct folks who narcissistically wants to learn more about me, or at least more or less all the nonprofits and charities I try to support. So make it kind of a landing page. But Oak Coffee Co. is the best place to find me. And then I'll be at all the farmers markets as well.
And we'll also see it Founded in FoCo, which is March 4th through 8th at the Fort Collins Senior Center, with some workshops sprinkled in throughout the community. And we can't wait to see you there. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. Any last words of advice you have for our audience?
No, I just want to thank you so much, Nick, for being such a community collaborator and engager, and helping put together Founded in FoCo, and everything you do for the community. I just thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you and seeing everyone in March.
Yeah, it's the advent of having an amazing team. The entire Founded in FoCo team is so excited for having us here, and We are going to see you in person March 4th through 8th at the Fort Collins Senior Center. And for more great entrepreneurial insights from fellow entrepreneurs, founders, and innovators, visit foundedinfoco.com, check out our podcast, and definitely check out the schedule. We will see you there. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Nick Armstrong, and this is a Founded in FoCo podcast. For more great interviews like this one, join us at foundedinfoco.com.